are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Oscar's Guitar Shop with Oscar Jordan, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Every day, observations.
Greetings and salutations. Hey, welcome to another episode of Oscar's Guitar Shop. My name is Oscar Jordan, and I'm the contributing writer to Vintage Guitar Magazine, and I am burdened with glorious purpose. How y'all doing? Are you done with Christmas yet, like me? Are you done? Massive commercialization, buying diamonds for people and all that. Was Santa good to you? Just asking. I hope it was good to you. I just want you to be happy. That's why I'm here, to provide extreme joy and hallucinatory pleasure. No need to thank me. I'm always here for you. You know that, right? Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm happy to be here. Would you like to help support Oscar's Guitar Shop? Go to oscarsguitarshop.com and click donations to the show. Share the magic inside your wallet. Oscar's Guitar Shop is powered by True Tone Music. Visit them at truetonemusic.com, making your music come to life. Also, Performance Guitars, building custom guitars and basses for the biggest names in the music industry since 1976. Visit them at performanceguitars.com. And last but not least, Mojave Ampworks. Visit the Oasis of Tone at mojaveampworks.com. Hey, would you like to become a sponsor? I'm asking. Would you like to become a sponsor? Email me at oscarsguitarshop@gmail.com. And now, it's time. Ty Tabor is the visionary guitarist for the band King's X. After 12 mind-altering studio albums and numerous live recordings, Ty Tabor has burned very brightly since the band's album debut in 1988. In addition to playing in King's X, Ty exercises his craft and artistry in other projects, namely Jelly Jam with Rod Morgenstein and John Young, operating his own commercial audio mastering facility, and solo records. He's got 9 solo records. His 9th solo album, Nobody Wins When Nobody Plays, highlights the distinctive elements that have left an indelible mark on King's X fans. The album is full of gorgeous guitar tones and textures, and he's here to tell us all about it. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Mr. Ty Tabor. Hey, how you doing, Ty?
Good. How you doing?
I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks, man. Good to talk to you again.
I'm gonna boost your volume a little bit. Well, first I gotta get this out of the way. Your fans are just crazy. They're crazy. They're shirtless. Hey, I'm such a big fan of yours, and I was telling you last time, I interviewed you. I'll just get the people in the audience updated. I had to interview you last. I didn't have to, but I wanted to. I interviewed you last week for Vintage Guitar Magazine, and it was all like I had to hold it in because I had to be professional. I had to be professional. I had to be a professional journalist because I had to ask the serious questions and not gush so much. So excuse me for gushing, but...
Well, thanks very much, Oscar. I appreciate it, man.
I'll stop gushing any minute now. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Doing fantastic.
How's business treating you?
Just very busy, which is good. Just a lot of stuff going on continually, and going to try to make this a very busy year of getting some more music out. Kind of took a little bit of time off there for a few years, but I'm back at it pretty heavy this year, and already have a lot of other stuff in the works anyway, and halfway in the can.
Yeah, I know you. The interview took on this whole bent of you just being more prolific now than you ever have been for some reason. Can you discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, I really don't know the reason for that, but I will say that it's just been really good for the last two to 3 years. I've had more stuff coming out of me just writing songs than I ever have in my life, and I've never had such a backlog of songs before that I would really like to get to the majority of them. So it's the best problem like that I've ever had. And I don't really know why, but it's going really well.
Yeah. Well, but with that said, your current solo record, Nobody Wins When Nobody Plays, you say it took you almost 4 years to complete.
Yeah, well, it was 3 years and 9 months since the last solo release, and I pretty much get started right away. As soon as I put something out, I usually get started on something else right away. For instance, I've got 6 songs down for the next solo album already.
Wow!
But I also have an entire Jelly Jam album, that we did together, John and Rod. We recorded yet another one that is sitting there waiting for me to do vocals on pretty much, and that's it.
Wow.
And just all kinds of instrumental stuff that has come out recently. Just I don't even know how to keep up at the moment. But like I said, the best problem I've ever had for that ever before. So getting into it.
Yeah, you were telling me that you seem like whatever you write seems to fit in whatever project you're doing. I mean, it just fits somewhere. Like it'll fit either in Jelly Jam, it'll fit in King's X, it'll fit on a solo record. So whatever you do, you have a place for it. Isn't that great?
I think it's I'm very fortunate to be in situations where that is the case, because there's no effort to try to make Jelly Jam sound different than solo stuff. It just automatically is going to, because of the other two guys and their input. So it becomes its own thing. And then when the guys in King's X and we get together, it's its own thing. And then when we do our solo stuff, it's all different. So there's never a struggle to try to make something fit those things, they naturally happen when those people get together. So it's real easy as far as that's concerned. I don't really write for Jelly Jam or write for myself or write for King's X. I just write. And whenever whoever gets together, we kind of just throw stuff out that we've been writing, and whoever, taps into something, then we kind of go with that and keep moving,
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that everything you write gets molded for the project.
Yeah, it does. It does. And without me having to really do anything to make that happen, which is great. I just try to be myself within it, and everybody else's input makes it be a different thing, which is awesome.
Tell me about what happens to your music when you play it for Doug Pinnick. Like, how does he put his foot in it to make it, give it that King's X sound?
Pretty much just play it the way he plays, and especially if he does vocals on it, he has to feel real within himself. It's just a matter of his own personal expression makes it be Doug and makes it be that thing. He just is who he is, and when he picks up a bass to play, it's Doug, and very distinctive and awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he puts a whole thing on it, which gives it, you want that distinction, because on your solo record, I got to say, your solo record, it sounds very personal. It's very maybe it's not. It just sounds that way, but it's just so deep. It's very it's got some of the lyrics are like, ooh, you know what I mean? And I know it's all you. It's you doing the producing and the writing and the playing. What's that like, just being alone and being the dictator of your own album?
Well, it's good and scary at the same time, because we all need somebody to hold a mirror up to ourselves and somebody to be honest and say that doesn't sound good. And it's hard for people to do that to us. I think people they may say things like that behind our backs, but people don't normally to our faces say that really stunk.
Mm-hmm.
And we probably need that to be honest. So that's the thing that scares me about being solo, is not if you don't have somebody holding a mirror up and at least giving you ideas of what they're getting from it, you can be lost in it and really not have a perspective of whether it's good or not anyway. And so it's scary for me. It's a great outlet to have, but it's scary because you put yourself on the line for people to laugh at or whatever. But the reason I started doing solo stuff was because of how much I love John Lennon's solo stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's that very thing about it. He put himself out there. I mean, he didn't hide anything. I'm a coward, compared to John Lennon.
Mm-hmm.
And I never let myself show that brutally, but that's what I love so much about his artistry. So that's been an encouragement to me, for a long time, to try to dig a little deeper, try to be a little more honest, try to not, be so protected. Because I'm a very private person who doesn't really go to parties and hang out with all the, where the happening things are. I usually avoid those things just because I'm just very private. So it's difficult for me to do that on solo stuff. But at the same time, I'm encouraged by, the person that is the biggest inspiration to me, John Lennon. That's what I love most about him. So I make myself do what's uncomfortable for myself and try to stretch,
Yeah. You had mentioned that there was a couple of songs on this new record where you actually had to rewrite some things to mask it a little bit. It was a little bit too personal, maybe? That you had to pull back a little bit?
I think a little too literal.
Too literal, right.
I don't like to... I may be writing about things that are very two-sided in America. I write about a lot of things where there are very definitive opinions in two different directions on the subject.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, mainly political topics.
Mm-hmm.
And when I write, I try my best not to write in a way that points Well, although I think I've done a bad job of that because I've done a lot of finger pointing in the last few couple of albums now that I think about it. But I try to do it in a way where it's not obvious who I'm pointing the finger at, so that maybe it can be seen as a neutral just situation that anybody can identify with. That's the attempt. And when things are too literal or they explain themselves too well, it divides people, and that's the last thing I want to do with music. To me, music is the thing that brings us together, all of us. It's the thing that will bring an entire crowd of people who are very opposed, probably in a lot of ways, but at the same time, this one thing, this thing that brings joy, brings everybody together, to clap together, to be one. That's a very strong thing to me, and I don't like to divide. So I try to make the music be palpable to whatever side you're on, if it's possible. Sometimes it's not possible, but I try to.
Yeah, I noticed that there is a universality about the record where these are emotions and feelings that everyone can experience and personalize without it being that specific. That's what I really like about it.
Good.
I want to play a song from the record, and this song is called Senseless Paranoia. I love this tune. And I'm going to play the song, and then I'm going to go to a commercial, and then I'm going to be right back. And I want to ask you a question that I forgot to ask you in the interview about the title of the album. But first I'll play the tune. It's a great tune. It goes a little like this.
Senseless paranoia.
like that, man. Oh, that's like, it's all in the hands, Mr. Tabor, all in the hands. Really digging that. Performance Guitars has been making hand-built custom guitars and basses since 1976. Their clients have included some of the biggest names of the music industry, including Frank and Dweezil Zappa, Warren DeMartini, Billy Sheehan, Steve Vai, and Joe Walsh. Their attention to detail, craftsmanship, great customer service, and on-site construction has made them a top choice for musicians the world over. Their guitar, amp, and effects repair is second to none. Their Corsair Guitar Series and YB Bass Series was created for the working professional who needs an instrument that can perform in a variety of musical situations. Their Frank Zappa-inspired effects pedals specialize in real, analog, and true bypass sounds. Performance guitars and basses will provide a seamless connection between you and the creation of great music. Visit Performance Guitars at performanceguitars.com or call 323-883-0781. That's 323-883-0781. Tell them Oscar sent you. Say, hey, Cooney. Oscar said, hey. Yeah. Mr. Tabor, that was a cool track.
Thank you, man.
That was a cool song. So, how did you come up with the title for this record?
Well, it's kind of embarrassing, actually, but it comes from... I'm somebody who likes to learn about so many different things that I find myself, just kind of running across things accidentally all the time that freak me out, like, the recent movie about global dimming, a new kind of idea, and some other things. I keep up with politics pretty heavily. But the truth is that song came from getting caught up in several different kind of conspiracy ideas that I ran across on YouTube, and then started looking into, those that debunked these ideas and those that were questioning these events and things like that. And I just found myself being so overwhelmed with, disappointment and overwhelmed with, feeling almost hopeless. Like, what can we do, with how entrenched the banking world system is at this point? What can you really do? And, things of that nature. And I just found myself getting way too deep into a lot of things that were depressing me. And that's basically where the idea of the song came from, where I just had to take a breath one day and go, okay, get a life again, and get some perspective and think, what can you do as an individual to make life better if that's what you want to do? And don't worry about trying to solve the entire world's crises, because I get caught up in all of it. There's so much stuff going on everywhere that is devastating.
Yeah.
But that's where that song came from, finding myself getting too off, just getting off into it a little too far,
Well, how about the title of the album? Nobody Wins When Nobody Plays.
Yeah, that's kind of a call to action, not to any specific action, but meaning your world won't change if you're just sitting around waiting for it to. If you don't play, you won't win. Mm-hmm. And it's meant to be an encouragement. It's meant to say, quit waiting for life to come to you. Life is passing. Get out there. Go. Get started.
Yeah. Get on the stick.
Exactly.
That's cool. Well, what's great is you're in this time of your life where you're so prolific and you're doing all this stuff, and as an artist, but you're also running your own mastering facility, correct?
Yeah.
Alien Beans. Can you tell me how that came about?
It actually came about mainly from, it originally was created just when I started doing solo stuff back in the 90s. I decided, at first I was like going to friends' house using different gear and things like that, trying to record. And I started putting together a studio of my own back then, mainly for doing solo stuff. But then, the studio would just be sitting around for a long time, and also I found that I was mastering my own projects, and I thought, well, why not do mastering for other people also in your off time? Just stay busy and keep working with music and stuff. So originally that was the deal, because King's X in the old days, we would we'd do an album, we'd tour a little while, then we'd take a considerable amount of time off before doing the whole cycle again. And I just found myself with a lot of time. And I wasn't doing all these side projects and solo things, so, I was only doing an occasional solo thing. So the studio was just sitting there, and I just decided to use it, And mastering is something a little more enjoyable to me than doing all-out production, because that's just so involved and takes so long. And so mastering's a way for me to be involved in the studio regularly without getting totally burnt out. I enjoy mastering.
Right. And it's safer than riding a motorcycle.
It can be.
Because there's video of you on YouTube of you doing like these Evel Knievel jumps, man, and the motocross thing, and that's like, dude, what are you thinking, man?
I grew up around it, man. My dad exposed me to motocross when I was very young, and my dad was vice president of a motocross track at one point in my life, and I just was always attracted to dirt biking and in particular to getting air, jumping. That was always my favorite part of it. In the earliest days, my dad bought me this little SL70, and my first bike was actually a Honda Rambler 50, and a little 50cc thing that just had no power, but I crashed it doing a little jump the first time I ever tried to jump on something. My dad got me a little better bike, a SL70 Honda, and we went out riding, and we went riding down some levee, and, I don't even remember this, honestly, because all I know is the only thing I ever wanted to do was jump. But he said he just turned around and noticed, I had kind of pulled off, and I pulled to the bottom of the levee and then came flying up it, jumped way over it down, to the downside of the other side. And he was like, whoa! And I was hooked from that moment forward, just wanting to get air on a bike. So even though I did do some racing, I was, not a pro that ever could have been, ever done anything seriously. But I enjoyed it and loved it. And like I said, just loved flying through the air more than anything. It's my favorite part of it.
That's got to be wild. And you had some injuries, yes?
Yeah. I've hit the ground a few times. I've broken a few things here and there, but I've been very lucky. Nothing major compared to all the other people. Even friends around me who have gotten really seriously hurt. I've been lucky. Just a few broken bones.
Oh my God.
That just blows me away because I just could never do that. I was just the idea of going way up in the air and then coming down really hard and just going and you know what? See, I have these paranoid delusions, much like the previous song, of the classic Evel Knievel in Vegas when he goes up and topples over the front in slow motion of the bike. That's all. When I see motorcycles, that's what I see in slow motion. Evel Knievel in slow motion toppling over the front of the bike and his body hitting the ground like a rag doll. Not for me, man.
That is the scariest thing on a motorcycle, I think, is the fear of doing an endo where you go over the front and then the bike chases you. That is the ultimate horror in motocross, and I've only had a couple of those happen. While going through whoops and things. I've been real lucky that I didn't get hit by the bike, but I can say that split second of going over the handlebars is the most holy terror moment ever on a motorcycle as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I had the Evel Knievel action figure, which is totally different, but I'm just saying. I want to play another track off the album. This is from Nobody Wins When Nobody Plays. This track is called Change. I'm going to play the track. I'm going to do a commercial, and then we're going to talk about gear. Hang in there.
dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yes. I certainly can. I'm such a fan. I'm going to stop gushing any minute. True Tone Music is a virtual candy store for guitarists and bass players. They're world famous for having the best selection of new and used vintage guitars in the Los Angeles area. Located at 714 Santa Monica Boulevard in the city of Santa Monica, True Tone Music offers the widest selection of exceptionally high-quality guitars and basses. They stock name brands like Fender, Gibson, Epiphone, Gretsch, and much, much more. Check out their wide selection of Martin acoustic guitars. Martin is the leading manufacturer of steel string flat top acoustics and synonymous with handcrafted excellence. True Tone Music is where the top names in the music industry shop for guitars, basses, amps, boutiques, pedals, you name it. Old Charlie Christian looking guitars and all that stuff. I was just there the other day and I was checking out this old, I think it was a Gibson 225 single P90 thing. Awesome. I'll get back to the script. They'll also match any online price and back it up with top-notch customer service and support. Visit them online at truetonemusic.com or call 310-393-8232. That's 310-393-8232. Ask for Ken. Tell him Oscar sent you. He will change your life, ladies and gentlemen. He will get you some cool hollow bodies and strats. And I played one of these like 345. It was a blue Gibson 345 hollow body thing. Really, really nice. So, Mr. Tabor, we were talking, and you're known for having these wide range. You've had many guitars in your career, but you are going back to Gibson guitars, the Les Paul. Tell me about that journey.
Yeah, actually, when I was a kid, my favorite guitar that I always dreamed of having was Cherry Sunburst Les Paul Custom. And when I was a kid, my dad bought me one for my birthday, 1976, and I've had it ever since, actually. And the earliest days of King's X, that was the guitar I played exclusively. We were called The Edge in those days, and we actually had a guy named Dan McCullum was originally in the band with us, another player and another guitarist. Then Dan left after a little while, and Kirk Henderson joined us as the fourth member, and we were called The Edge. During that time, we were just playing Les Pauls, and that was really what the band was formed on, was that kind of traditional Les Paul tone. And what happened is, and it's kind of strange because sort of a fluke, really, but in the early days, we, were doing this kind of, trying to be as heavy as we could with guitar tones. So the Paul, was more known for being that kind of brutal instrument, and so it was the only thing I wanted to play. And then at one point, I started playing an Ampeg that was a prototype guitar, from what I understand, that basically was a copy of a double cutaway, like Melody Maker, sort of. Mm-hmm. Excuse me one second, I'm sorry. Sorry, still getting over this cold we were talking about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I started playing this Gibson Melody Maker type guitar. It was actually an Ampeg in the early years. And then around 85, we got hired as a band to help out an artist in Houston, Texas, to write some music with him and maybe record on the album with him. And he was looking for like a Gino Vanelli Strat type tone for some of his stuff. So we went out and bought a Strat Elite, and that was the first time I'd ever played one. And I was floored by how it sounded. I couldn't believe how it sounded. Mm-hmm. And also was floored by how much it weighed. It weighed more than my Les Paul, which was just insane because it's much thinner, and it just meant the wood was extremely dense. It was the heaviest guitar I'd ever touched in my life, and I still have that guitar also. But that's the guitar that ended up being on the first 4 King's X albums, and that signature tone that I was originally known for was that Strat Elite. But truth is, I had just started playing that thing right before we got a record deal, and wasn't even sure if the Strat was the right thing for that kind of tone at first. I was telling you when we were discussing last time, at first when I went to the Strat, the reaction I got from Doug and Jerry, I don't know if they remember, but I do, they were like, we're not sure about the Strat tone on this heavy stuff. And I agreed with them. I thought, yeah, there's something about it. I'm not sure. But then after a couple of shows, I actually mentioned something about, well, maybe I'll just start playing the Ampeg again. And I remember also Doug and Jerry both said, no, we're really liking that now. And so that's kind of how the whole Strat tone came about from the way I remember it. It was just sort of an accident that happened right before we got a record deal, really, not too long before. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up being known as a Strat player when I really, had been raised on Les Paul, and still prefer Les Pauls in general. Like you said, I've been playing them a lot lately again. I've got several that I'm playing these days that I really, really love. But my favorite one that I take on stage is 50s Tribute. that I got a couple years back that just feels perfect and really sounds awesome. But yeah, I just sort of gravitated back to some of the stuff that I started with because it just feels comfortable, and I have more fun playing a Les Paul, and I had forgotten that until I picked one up and started playing it, a couple years back, and I realized I was struggling to play it, and it wasn't easy. It didn't feel good. It felt like, wow, man, it's hard to play a Les Paul. But then I heard back on tape what I had done, and it sounded better to me, and I liked what I was playing more. And I realized I've always been that way. It's like if I have to struggle a little bit with it, it causes me to rely more on feel and expression than licks. And so the Les Paul for me is that perfect thing that keeps me at the right amount of uncomfortable that I want to be, and comfortable enough to not worry about whether I can play what I want to play on it. So it's just that perfect guitar for me.
Yeah. We were talking about that, how some players they don't want to struggle. They want to be able to jump around the fretboard a lot, but the sound is more important than. Well,
it's not more the sound, it's that I like what I play better on guitars that aren't as easy to play. And I don't know why that is, but it has always been the case. For instance, we did a tour in Europe 2-3 years ago, and I had been playing one guitar the whole trip, and as a guitar that just plays so supremely easy and good that I just felt like I could do anything I wanted anytime on that guitar with no effort. And one night, somebody brought another guitar from someone else that I had never even seen or played before, and I just decided to use it one night just for fun. Mm-hmm. And I know that I was miserable the whole night. It was just like I was fighting a bucking bronco. It was completely out of control. It was feeding back when it shouldn't, and I couldn't get it clamped off in time. I mean, everything was just a struggle. And then I heard the tape back of our show that night, and we listen to tapes every night that we can to learn from what we're doing and see what we're doing that we don't like and things like that. And the truth is, all of the guys, everybody was like, wow, we like it better when you play that one, and because I was complaining about how hard it was to play. And I had to admit, I did too. I liked it better. I was playing better, more expressively, and not relying on ease. And it just brings something out of me that I prefer. So, I've been keeping myself in that slightly uncomfortable place because I like what it brings out better.
Do you use heavy gauge strings?
No, I use very, very light strings. When people play my guitar, usually they go, how on earth can you keep this in tune? Because I play so light. I use 9 through 42, and I tune it down a full step so that it's really easy to bend. Because I like to do 5-fret bends and do my controllable stuff more in the 3 to 5 fret bend area instead of the 2 to 3 fret where most people do. And I don't know why. There were some early guitar players like Dick Wagner and Steve Hunter on some early stuff. They used to every once in a while throw a lick in with a really wild bend in the middle of it. And it just blew me away. And I used to try that on heavier gauge strings. It would kill my fingers, so I started going lighter just so I could do that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that's to me like rubber bands. To me, I would.
Oh, it is.
But you know what it does? I recently went back to a lighter gauge. I use like 9.5s. Even though they're easier to bend, it teaches you more control.
Absolutely.
You have to control it. You can't just be muscle man on these strings. It's something about that.
Exactly right. It forces you to have touch, or you'll be out of tune, and that's another one of those struggle things that brings something out that is very good, I think, for me. Just for my personal taste.
Are you still using the Guilford guitars?
Absolutely. I'm looking at a beautiful gold top Guilford, the first one John gave me, sitting on my right here in front of me right now, and that is one fine playing and sounding guitar. Absolutely.
Yeah. You were telling me about it. It's got so many just really, really cool features. Can you talk about it a little bit? Some of the features on the guitar?
First of all, it's got something that John calls a shred neck. That's something he does that makes the neck feel used and worn in already right off the bat, which is pretty incredible. And it's a good, solid guitar. I've got a couple of different ones. The one that we actually put out has something called tone vents in it, which I personally really like tone vents, and I even prefer Les Pauls that have a little bit of wood cut out and has a little bit of hollow in it. I don't know why. I just kind of prefer that. There's something about the attack I like with that. Anyway, so the Guilfords have tone vents. It's something that John has come up with to accommodate me, and it just feels perfect. The guitar feels perfect. It's got a real nice contour for the arm to just lay across and not get beat up on the edge. It has really great pickups, too, made by Seymour Duncan, called T-Rails. And they're some of my favorite pickups ever because they give you 3 entirely different type of eras and styles of guitar sound and playing all in one pickup. And what's cool about it is, on the one hand, you've got a regular 3-way toggle switch that works, in the normal way it should with 2 pickups, where you can go to either single pickup or a combination of both in the middle. But on top of that, it has another 3-way toggle switch, where in one position you have full-on humbuckers, so you can get Les Paul type tones, and it does get really good Paul type tones. Then you can flip it in another switch position, and it's P90s, and it has that that classic Les Paul tone kind of thing going on. And then you can flip it one more time, and you've got single coils. So you've got everything from Stratty type stuff to old classic Pauls to full-on Paul, all in one guitar, which allows me to just flip a switch in the middle of songs and sound like totally different eras. And that comes in handy with King's X stuff because, we might do an old song where I need single coils or P90s to get that clanky thing, and then we might do a newer song where I need humbuckers, and I just flip the switch, and it's the same guitar, and that's one of the really powerful features of my model that I really love. John just, he's a great guitar maker. They're very high-end, super nice guitars.
Wow, that's very cool. Wow. Ty, thank you so much for coming on the program. I'm very grateful. You deserve... I wish I could have you on for 2 hours and talk about your amp rig and everything, because you are the tone man. You have great guitar tones.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And the audience approves of your guitar tone because that's why they're applauding so loud. But thank you for coming on the show, and you're welcome anytime. Can you tell us what's coming up next for the band and solo and for King's X? Yeah,
actually, King's X is going to be doing a cruise in February. Progressive Nation cruise. We're going to also do some shows in California, and I'm thinking that we're doing some shows in Florida around the cruise also. We're getting ready to be doing some more shows, and I'm going to be finishing up another Jelly Jam album and another solo album, and I'm going to try hard to get both of them out this year.
Wow. Thank you. Wow. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming on the show. This has been great.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, once again, that's our show. That was Ty Tabor. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Set mind to purpose and visit Ty at tytabor.com and purchase every piece of music he has ever written. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Performance Guitars, building custom guitars and basses for the biggest names of the music industry since 1976. Visit them at performanceguitars.com. Also, True Tone Music at truetonemusic.com. And last but not least, Mojave Ampworks. Visit the Oasis of Tone at mojaveampworks.com. Want to become a sponsor? Well, you should want to be one, because if you do, just email me. Email me at oscarsguitarshop@gmail.com. Tune in next week when our guest will be Blues Master General Alvin Youngblood Hart. Take care of yourselves. Be nice to each other. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.